What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life. This is a way of life.
All right. Hey, BALLBUSTERS. Bates here. Your friend, mine, Ray Mungus. We are ready to get spooky on the second episode of Way of Life Live. Joining us today will be our other two miscreant partners and founders of Way of Life. Right now, only one of them is with us, but the other will be joining us quite shortly. But we do have Tom, the Doom Machine O'Brien, with us. How's it going, Tom?
Could be a little better, Matt. Rangers just scored again, so now they're up 2-1 on my Bruins.
All right, so you're going to get Angry Tom tonight, which isn't much different than Happy Tom. So, yeah, you guys are in for a treat on that one. How you doing over there, Ray?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
I'm all right. Would have been better if the Devils won last night, speaking of hockey.
Hey, you were out there, right?
Yeah, I was out there, and
Something happened to your hand?
Yeah, I went all ninja on a fucking puck that was flying towards our heads. Actually, it would have missed us if I didn't even do anything, but it definitely would have hit the guy behind me, because he was on his phone. But, yeah, no, came flying at us. I blocked it, and, yeah, my first hockey puck. I've been to plenty of games, and I've never managed to snag one, so that was pretty cool.
Did you at least get a tryout for the team? Backup goalie of some sort?
I was telling my boss when it happened, I'm like, yo, I should be the fucking goalie. Like, dude, you know, I was telling a couple people at work, like, I don't even remember, like really seeing the puck coming at me or even putting up my arm. It was just like, I don't know, like something out of Dragon Ball Z. I just put up my arm and just deflected it. It was really fucking cool.
Just like ninja reflexes, huh?
Yeah, seriously, like some serious ninja. Yeah, I don't even know how else to explain it. Like I was a fucking Jedi or something.
Cat-like reflexes, man. That's exactly how you describe it. Cat-like reflexes.
Precisely. You had some good seats, too, I saw.
Yeah, well, I get the tickets occasionally from work when our clients don't want them, and we have pretty much the best package this year that you can buy for season tickets, especially for corporations. So we have full VIP treatment. We park right in front of the arena, and when I say right in front, I mean about 10 steps from the front door. We actually park on the middle of a street that they block off with cop cars.
Wow.
And then the VIP section, you have to get your ticket scanned in 3 areas. And basically the VIP section is this beautiful lounge with all of these different food stations. I'm talking carving stations, pasta stations, pulled pork and giant hamburger stations. There's a barista station for coffee. There's a sushi station. And then there's like game fair station with like really good chicken fingers and like all beef hot dogs and popcorn and hot pretzels. So yeah, we're right behind the penalty boxes, our seats. We have 4 seats. So yeah, we pretty fucking good.
You made out pretty well.
Yeah.
Better than my night. I played World of Warcraft. That's about it. And of course got this stream together, you know, details for that. And this new fancy overlay that you could see.
Yeah. Don't expect a new overlay every week, people, alright? I'm just saying. He wasn't overly happy with the original overlay, so he had to tweak it a bit, but don't expect a new one every fucking week.
Maybe on holidays, but other than that, you know, what you see is what you're gonna get.
Yeah, maybe he'll put a Santa hat on something.
Exactly. Instead of headphones, the little skull guy could be wearing a Santa hat or reindeer antlers or some shit. I don't know.
Maybe a Festivus pole or something.
I like it.
Yeah, that seems more appropriate. Alright, so we got a couple things we decided we wanted to discuss today. One of them was actually
not as long as last week though. We're gonna try to rein this one in to about an hour.
Yeah, I'm hoping between 45 and an hour. But you know, we'll see what fucking happens. Who knows?
Are you gonna be streaming tonight after this?
I am hoping so because I did not stream Monday night, and then I couldn't stream last night because I was at the hockey game. So I'm hoping to jump on stream after this because it should be early enough, and I don't think there's anything good on to watch. There's no Devils game on tonight, and I'm gonna miss South Park anyways. Not that I've watched it the last couple weeks. I got to catch up on that.
True. Well, I might get my Friday the 13th on, because it's been about a week or so since I played. So. Yeah,
definitely. Definitely. So, it's been a couple of days since I played, and since you brought it up, I guess that's where we should start tonight.
Yeah, but don't forget, if you're still sticking around after this, head over to Live Deliciously in Games channel and watch us play Friday the 13th after.
Yeah, or don't.
Or don't. It doesn't fucking matter to us.
Yeah, seriously.
Who cares? Do whatever you're going to do.
No skin off my scrote.
Nobody cares.
Exactly. Nobody cares. We're all going to die. Who gives a shit?
No skin off my scrote. So, yes. So, today, Wes over at Gun Media dropped a update. Well, some update news we actually were not expecting. Because they gave us a roadmap about a month or so ago on an update schedule, and this
that roadmap is like for single player fans. That's looking a little dire. I'm like, it's far down the road still.
Yeah, that it is.
But we got some good news today.
Yeah. Well, on that roadmap, it said AI bots, and that's technically going to be like the first instance of single player. Those AI bots and the offline bots are basically going to be you're going to play as Jason chasing around bots. So
it's a start.
Yeah, it's definitely a start. But today, Wes had announced that we are getting a level cap increase. Now, right now, the level cap is 101. And basically, levels don't mean a whole lot in this game. All the levels do, and I think pretty much at 44 you unlock everything important, is you'll unlock new Jason models and new counselors. You'll also unlock different colored clothing for the counselors all the way up until like 90, but nobody cares about that. Everybody wants fresh content with their level increases. Well,
yeah, we don't really want the cosmetic stuff all that much. We just want more content. Just keep feeding them content.
Yeah, I'm all about content. I love it. I wait for it as pretty much any fan does. But I'm all about customization. I'm the type of guy that sits on a game and it takes like 16 hours for me to make a character and come up with a name. So I welcome the cosmetic stuff on top of the content.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of fucking costumes and clothing and skins like that, but I know so many people are, so I'm not going to knock it. And that is something new that's going to be coming with this new level cap increase. There will be new Jason skins. Now, what exactly that means, I'm not entirely sure. Right now, we only have one skin for one Jason, and that's the Retro Jason for Part 3. We don't have anything else yet. Now, we do know we will be getting bloody skins for all of the Jasons, but aside from that, I don't know exactly what else these skins can be. Maybe they could possibly be battle damage skins from like later in the movie. Like Part 3 Jason doesn't have any damage on him, but by the end of the movie he has a lot of damage. Maybe we're gonna get a Part 3 Jason who's got an axe stuck in his head. That would
That'd
be
be
pretty.
cool.
That would be really fucking cool. Maybe we're gonna get a part 4 Jason that has part of his hand completely split down the middle. That would,
With the way that they like make these environmental type things affect Jason, and how they each have their own characteristics, I think it'd be interesting to see maybe his grab radius be affected by like his hand having an injury.
so I mean, and maybe they're just gonna be completely unique skins.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm a big fan of what they did, what Tom Savini did with his pre-order. I guess he was pre-order edition.
Yes.
But I'd like to see some artists who grew up on the series like we did to come in and, you know, like make their own mark on the series, come up with their own Jason, and see it added into the game.
Yeah, that's a lot of speculation with the skins. They think that that's definitely going to be a possibility. But I guess we won't really know until this update gets released. But on top of new Jason skins, we are also getting new kills as you progress in levels. You're getting new counselor clothing, which I'm hoping is more than just fucking colors.
Suits.
Yeah, I hope it's something a bit more unique.
I'm excited about the kills personally because I mean, you could pretty much take apart those movies and come up with endless amounts of kills, but on top of what hasn't been done, you're going to be able to create like significantly more impressive ones too.
Yeah, and they said new future content as well, which don't know what exactly that could be, but it's nice that they're thinking ahead right now.
Just what they did with the Tommy Jarvis tapes alone shows promise for the future. The fact that they're thinking a little outside the box and trying to continue the story is really interesting to me. And it, you know, like since we're all sitting around waiting for a new movie and for all the rights to get worked out, like we're getting a new Friday the 13th sequel via the video game, via these new contents and all that.
Well, if nothing more, you're getting, you know, a little bit of backstory into, you know, into the whole Tommy Jarvis versus Jason, you know, storyline, I guess.
Agreed, definitely. And just think of all the characters that survived and all the characters that you loved, you know, like we might be getting backstories for characters like Shelly or, you know, Ginny or something like that exceeds the movies.
I don't know. I always thought of Friday the 13th is just like a bunch of expendable teenagers. I mean, you know, other than Tommy Jarvis, you know, surviving like 3 movies, you know, or at least being written into 3 movies. You know, it's just a whole bunch of, you know, mindless kids being, you know, hacked and slashed in the woods, you know, by a vengeful spirit.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it a sequel, but I would definitely call it an addition to the extended Friday the 13th universe.
A companion.
Yes, a companion, exactly. Not exactly treading sequel territory, but definitely expanding on past lore.
Yeah, which is awesome. I mean, you can't really go. Like this game is a labor of love, and as a Friday the 13th fan, like, I mean, I don't understand why all these people are bitching. They're getting something that they never would have like expected to get in their lifetime, and you know, not only is it a fun game, but an expansion of the universe.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always say I wish a bigger studio made this game, but made it this way, just so it was a bit more polished, so the controls didn't feel so clunky. I mean, I know Ilphonic and Gun Media, they're smaller companies and stuff, and you know, they may not have the resources and knowledge and power to make a game on the level of like Rockstar or, you know, Capcom or Konami, you know, and any one of these bigger companies that have made beautifully polished games. But at the end of the day, we still got a game. We got a Friday the 13th game that we always wanted. Yeah, it's still buggy. Yeah, it's got some issues, but they've definitely upped their games since beta and since release day. So
yeah, it's basically been cleaned up a lot more than it was in its original state.
Absolutely,
100%. And they're definitely going to continue to update it and polish it more and make it even better to keep at least the hardcore fans who have been playing since day one. Hopefully we'll be playing in another year or two. You know, I don't think this game's going to have a crazy long lifespan. unless they release a part 2 and kind of really expand the gameplay. But you know, that's a couple years down the road.
Well, I mean, it is possible to keep, to play the game a couple years down the road. I mean, for an example, Borderlands 2. I mean, everybody keeps playing that game. That game's, like 5 years old already. So, I mean, it might not last as long as that, but, it's going to stick around for a good long time, I have a feeling.
Well, I hope so. I mean, it's some games will just die off. It happens to plenty of online games. I mean, look at like Call of Duty games and Madden games. Once the new Madden game comes out, nobody's playing the old Madden game anymore.
That's
but that's a yearly update thing. They, in my eyes, it's basically just to update the rosters. You update a couple other things. You throw in a goofy animation or something like that, and you kind of rip the people off for another $60.
Agree. That's what I respect about this company. They're working with what they have already. They have a game in place. They are doing nothing but trying to improve it, not worrying about rushing out the sequel in a year. And I could respect that.
Yep. So so it's definitely something to look forward to. At least the levels are going to mean something more in the game. Right now, it's basically, I think I'm level 89 or 90, and it's just like, well, I'm not getting anything for these levels. So hopefully by the time this update happens and the level cap's increased, I'll be at the already maxed 101. And then I can just start grinding my way to over 150. So definitely something to look forward to if you guys play the game. You want to take the next one, Ray? This one's more your wheelhouse.
Yeah, right on. A lot of people have been wondering about the MTV's Scream reboot that has been produced. They produced a series of television. I think they had 2 seasons and a Halloween special, if I remember correctly. Basically, a lot of people are wondering, since the Weinstein Company and Dimension Films is pretty much going down the toilet at the moment, if this Scream reboot was going to have the plug pulled down on. And it turns out the answer is no. They are currently filming in Atlanta, Georgia, and it seems like this new incarnation of the series is going to be Halloween based. So a lot of people were wondering what exactly is going to happen now that they're taking the story of the original 2 seasons and throwing it away and rebooting it completely with new actors. But it seems like they're taking the Scream universe, I suppose, and they're moving it toward a familiar territory, that is Halloween. And I guess what that could bring is a lot more references, a lot more tongue-in-cheek, sort of throwbacks to other horror movies like the series is known for. But the good thing is they're finally doing something with the show, which was very universally liked. A lot of people had their issues with it here and there, but for the most part, it was a television show that people liked.
Yeah, I always heard good things about it, but I just never got like an urge to want to sit down and watch it. I kind of feel like, Scream is a through and through slasher movie and slasher franchise. And the way slasher movies work is you're introduced to a group of characters. You're going to look at these group of characters, and by the end of the movie, there's only going to be 1, maybe 2 of them alive.
Exactly.
And that's how it goes for Scream. Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 4. Now, you take that formula and you put it into a TV series, you kind of wonder, how often are they going to kill off a character? Should I really grow attached to any of these characters, knowing that they could probably die in any episode? It was always a kind of a cool concept to me, but not one I thought would work right unless the writing was on point. And I'm guessing the writing was pretty on point. It got, right now, getting its 3rd season, technically. And as I said, I've heard a lot of good things about it from Twitter and from horror bloggers and websites and stuff, so I guess it's entirely possible to make a good show out of a slasher movie franchise.
Yeah, in all honesty, I was a little bit skeptical myself because, when you think of a slasher movie, you pretty much, once the mask is pulled off and you reveal who the killer is and all that, you think to yourself, well, where do you go from here? And the Scream series in movie form pretty much kind of like pushed it. They basically like beat the dead horse till it didn't even look like a horse anymore. They put the mask on various people. They throw people into the scenario that you would have never expected. And it actually started becoming kind of like what the Saw franchise has become, where it was like like somebody related to one of the main characters through some sort of connection, and they try to keep like milking it till couldn't be. But in the television series, it worked a little bit differently. They unmasked the killer, and then they took it in the second season, and then they twisted it. But the big twist in this is this new reboot is not going to have anything to do with the characters that were on the previous seasons. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it from here after 2 successful seasons.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see whether fans of the first 2 seasons accept this new season. Maybe I'll finally get around to checking it out at some point, because as I said, I heard lots of good things. So maybe I really should just put aside my concerns and watch at least 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, definitely agree. And the fact that they're taking this story, the whole Scream story, and putting it into a different group of people and having a different lore that's not connected to the previous 2 seasons, it's gonna open up more creative storytelling. So I think ultimately the new season that's going to be happening is going to be fresh for us to watch.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, if you guys liked the Scream TV series, which I believe was on MTV, right?
I believe so, and having watched every episode, like they shove a bunch of MTV type bullshit into it, but having watched every single episode, you wouldn't think that MTV was capable of creating something like that. They pulled it off pretty well, I thought.
Yeah, so if you guys were into that show, you got at least another season to look forward to. It may not feel like it's a continuation of the first 2, but at least it's still something. At least you're still getting another season.
Yeah, I just love the fact that we might not be getting Scream movies that are all connected like the way they were, but we're still getting something, even after Wes Craven has passed away. So, it's awesome to see the legacy live on a little bit.
And yeah, Matt, you were right. It was on MTV the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so we're gonna go from one remake that is genuinely liked to another remake.
A second remake of a movie, I guess that's what you call it.
Yeah.
Was the other one considered a remake? I don't even know.
All right.
And then don't forget the sequel, Day of the Dead: Contagion.
Yeah, but that was not a sequel, dude. That was technically a prequel to Night of the Living Dead.
Well, I thought it was garbage personally, but I mean,
that's neither here nor there. But let's not try to pen it as a sequel to the superior, beautifully written, shot, acted, just best zombie movie
remake. I know what you're talking about. The remake, right?
Yeah, no, not quite. All right, so I'm gonna get a little heated on this discussion here because this one hits me hard. And normally I don't care. You want to go fucking remake a great movie and most likely ruin it? Fine. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't bother me. I don't have to pay for it. I don't have to watch it. I don't have to support it. And I'm gonna have the original movie to enjoy anyway.
It'll be there.
Exactly. Normally, that's my feeling on remakes, reboots, re-envisionings, whatever the fuck you people want to call these things today. When you take my favorite horror movie of all time and decide you want to try to remake it for the second time, not even the first time, the second fucking time, all right? I got a problem. Because now you're ruining the good name of Day of the Dead.
Agreed. After George Romero passed away, no less.
Yeah.
How much you want to bet that the only reason this movie was being made is because of something along those lines?
Maybe. No, well, no, it was already shooting while he was alive.
Oh, was it? I don't know the release schedule.
Yeah, no, it was all greenlit. It was ready to be shot and everything.
Yeah, but still, if it comes out like crap, it's kind of like going to George Romero's grave and just taking a big shit on it, isn't it? I mean, yeah.
Well,
you don't screw around with those movies. You don't screw around with a horror master. You just don't do it. Yeah, do something else. Fund some other movie.
Find a movie that deserves a remake. You know what I mean? Like something that had a good potential, but just didn't have the right script, director, or funding to make when they originally did it.
I feel much better about something like that going on than one of these movies that was extremely popular in its time for its day or whatever, and then just because you can, we're gonna remake the thing, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. No, don't do that shit, man. That just annoys people.
And typically I would agree, but I mean sometimes you get something special. Take for instance my favorite remake, and I know it's blasphemy for all horror fans, but I truly think it's superior to the original.
Here we go.
We're not getting into this today. I'm just going to bring it up. The 1990 Tom Savini remake of Night of the Living Dead, I think is better than the original. Now, the original was way more effective and influential, and basically what I see it as is the 1968 Night of the Living Dead was the Jimi Hendrix of horror movies, all right? Jimi Hendrix was a good guitarist. He was not a great guitarist. Whenever I see him on the best guitarist ever, like top 10 list, I don't understand why. He wasn't that talented, but the way he played was unique, and what he did for rock music in general and what he paved the way for is unique and special and influential, and that's why he has his spot in the rock and roll legacy. Night of the Living Dead was the same way. It was a good movie. It was influential. It paved the way. But it could have been so much better. I don't think it's as good as people make it out to be, and that's not saying that's bad. I love the original. I just think the remake took the original, didn't fucking change anything major. They only fixed things that were broken in the first one. And that's why I think it's personally superior.
I can understand where you're coming from with that, and I'm not going to get too much into it because I know how mean you could go on this one. But you have to understand that the original Night of the Living Dead was a independent movie. It was a bunch of friends that got together, they wrote a script, and then they made something so groundbreaking that it influenced everything from 1967 or 1968. From that point on,
1968, right?
Yeah,
exactly. From everything from 1968 all the way to The Walking Dead of today, that's a hell of a legacy that you can't sit there and discredit. And I know you're not, but you need to give credit where credit's due.
Oh, and I'll give the 68 version credit all day, every day. That is the quintessential fucking zombie movie. That is where all other zombie movies have fucking taken inspiration from. Now, I do know there were a couple of zombie movies technically before Night of the Living Dead, but Night of the Living Dead coined the phrase Romero zombie. And when you think of a zombie today, that is what you think of. You think of the Romero zombie. You think of the slow-moving, moaning, groaning, very dumb, dim-witted, maybe they can learn a little bit, maybe they can't, kind of zombie. Not the kind of zombies we got in, let's say, the Dawn of the Dead remake, or 28 Days Later, which I don't really think were actually zombies. I think they were infected. But that'll be a great topic for another episode.
Absolutely. And to jump in on what you just said about the Romero zombie, prior to his zombies, you pretty much had voodoo people, like dead coming back to life because of voodoo. No dead coming back from life, or from death rather, whatever. Nothing like what he did. No flesh eaters, no slow moving or anything like that.
It was more like Serpent in the Rainbow kind of stuff.
Exactly,
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was completely different. It changed the entire way you view a zombie, and it still holds true today, even despite the few speed bumps in Dawn of the Dead and and 28 Days Later and such.
Yeah, like when I think of pre-Night movies, I think of like zombie movies anyway. I think of like White Zombie and some of those other, again, voodoo zombie movies that predated Night of the Living Dead 68. But to get back on track, so Day of the Dead is being remade for a second time. Day of the Dead is by far my favorite zombie movie ever, favorite horror movie ever. I just think that movie, it was such a jump from the first two movies. Obviously, I love Dawn of the Dead, the original. I thought that was a great movie. And again, you know, Night, I like Night a lot.
You know what's funny? The fact that Day of the Dead's your favorite of all time and Night of the Living Dead's mine. Like, as top 5 of all horror movies of all time.
Basically, what I loved seeing was the progression of strength in the female characters of those movies. Obviously, in the 68 version, Barbara was just a stumbling, mumbling, bumbling, useless twat. Let's face it. She was.
That's one way to put it.
Then you had Dawn of the Dead, which tried to rectify some of that. Now, obviously, when you have a movie starring 70s Ken Foree, you know, it's going to be hard to take away the awesomeness of Ken Foree and focus on anybody else in the movie, especially the only female character in the movie. But I gotta give it.
I did like Fran though. You know, Galen Ross did.
Yeah, Galen Ross was amazing in that movie, and they gave her a lot to do in it, and they let her shine as a not crazy strong, but a strong female. A female who, by the end of that movie, could definitely handle herself better than she could in the beginning of the movie. In the beginning of Night of the Living Dead, Barbara was useless. At the end of Night of the Living Dead, she was even more useless.
Agreed.
So at least they fixed that issue with the character of Francine in Dawn of the Dead.
That was unheard of for its time. You know, like what they did with her character.
Oh, definitely. You would never see strong female characters. Cause what was that movie? That was 78. That was 10 years later. So. Mm-hmm. Even at that point, you really didn't have too many strong female characters. I mean, I don't know if this was released before or after Halloween, but we can't even really call Laurie Strode that strong of a female character. She just managed to survive.
Agreed.
I mean, at least in the first one, she wasn't a strong female character in the Halloween franchise. But, I mean, she grew stronger, you know, with the exception, of course, of number 3, which was just an in-name only sequel. You know, she did get, you know, a little bit stronger each one.
Agreed. Especially come Halloween 8, was it? Where she came back in that role.
Oh, yeah, for what, 2 minutes, and then she was killed off?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, I meant 7. H2O, 7.
Oh, H2O, yeah.
Yeah, no, she kind of kicked ass there.
Yeah, no, she was in Resurrection, but she, like, died, like, instantly.
Which I thought that's where the credits for that movie should have rolled, and I'll stand by that, you know, 100%. But back to Day of the Dead.
So yeah, so now we get to Day of the Dead, 1985 Day of the Dead, and they give us the character of Sarah, who is by far the star of the movie, and rightfully so, because I mean, you try to name me a stronger female character in a horror movie, and I will refute it all day. Obviously, there are plenty, but this was the quintessential powerhouse female character in a horror movie, and she was in a shitty situation on top of a shitty situation. It was bad enough she was surrounded in a zombie apocalypse. She was stuck underground with 15 dudes as the only female. So
who were the absolute worst, by the way. Almost every man in that movie was awful.
Yeah, not a lot to root for in that one. Not at least as far as the Army guys go.
I mean, like, if you're a fan of, like, badass bad guys, yeah, they're right up there with the best. But, from her perspective as a character, they're all kind of dicks.
Yeah, I wouldn't say all of them. The dude, like, obviously, what was his name? John, played by Terry Alexander, the, like, black guy who had the Caribbean accent. Obviously, true. You had him, and then you had McDermott, played by, I think his name was Jarlath Conroy, the guy who looked like fucking Mr. Bean. He looked like Rowan Atkinson.
Yes.
And now that I've said that, you can't unsee it now, people. Go watch Day of the Dead, and when you see McDermott, you're going to automatically see Rowan Atkinson as Mr. Bean. So yeah, I mean,
I rewatched it recently, and I couldn't get that image out of my head. It was so terrible.
And then obviously Frankenstein, who was not an evil character, actually probably the most interesting character in the movie.
I agree there. He was, he made you conflicted. Whether you really sided with what he was doing.
Well, I think most interesting because as strong as Sarah was, Sarah still showed fear. Frankenstein was fucking fearless, especially in the face of Rhodes. Like, he did not give a shit.
I think that was because he was so detached from everything that was going on, and he was so, like, zoomed in on finding that cure by any means necessary. So, like, he didn't even, like, that was all background static to him, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, he was, like, just completely disconnected to everyone. I mean, when you have Rhodes yelling at you, and listen to me, I've seen Joseph Pilato in person yelling at someone. It's not something you want to be, on the back end of. So
yeah, it doesn't sound like a pleasant experience.
I mean, it was pleasant for me and Bates here, but not so much the guy he was yelling at.
Yeah, we'll actually get into that. We're gonna do a stream one day of our convention memories, and this obviously happened at a convention, and it's one of my favorite, most beloved memories.
Here we are, like 10 years.
To give the receive.
Here we are, like 10 years later, still talking about this thing. So, like, needless to say, you're going to be in for an amusing experience.
Yeah, it was fucking. It was just an amazing experience. But he was so disconnected that even having Rhodes yelling at him, all he's thinking about is, "I'm fucking hungry. Is there food?" And it's just like 5 times in a row. Is there food? Like, that's all. He don't care about what you're saying. Motherfucker just wants to eat. So,
and I love watching Joe Pilato's the way he portrays the character in those moments. Like, I almost think that, like, the character, the guy that played Frankenstein, actually made Joe Pilato mad during those scenes. Like, he looked like veins were popping out of his neck and everything.
Yeah, like when he was getting really mad, he was he would look like and sound like really constipated. It was great.
Hell of an actor.
Yeah.
That's seeing a performance like that, it makes me, like, even more depressed that they're trying to remake it for a second time.
Yeah. So there was a remake a couple of years ago, which I gave a shot. I gave a shot for one reason, and that's
Mia Sorvino, right?
Mina Savari.
Fair enough. Close enough.
I'm a big fan of Mina Savari. I've always loved her. I think she was very attractive. I think she's a great actress. I've loved her in a lot of her movies. Obviously, Mina Savari, she was in the American Pie movies. If you ever saw the movie Loser, she was in that. She was in this really messed up movie that was based on a true story about her and her boyfriend running over somebody and this person getting stuck in the windshield of their car, and they drive the car home and park it in the garage with this person still stuck in the fucking windshield. I'm trying to think. I think the movie was just called Stuck.
Sounds like there's something that they did in Fargo a couple seasons ago. But go on.
Yeah, no, I think the movie was just called Stuck. I remember seeing it once, and I thought it was really entertaining. I also like really love her. She voiced a Final Fantasy character that I really like. In some of the Kingdom Hearts games, she voiced Aerith from Final Fantasy VII in all of the Kingdom Hearts games, as far as I know. And she's been in tons and tons of movies. Just a great actress. Has a very unique look, very unique face, very recognizable. And she was cast as I believe Sarah. I'm actually looking that up right now.
Not sure, but like seeing her in all those movies that you kind of named off made it very difficult for me to take her seriously as kind of like a soldier that she portrayed in the movie.
Well, I get that, all right, but she's had a sort of tough girl role before. There's a Goofy movie called Sugar and Spice. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I wouldn't expect...
Oh, is that the one with the cheerleaders?
Yes. So, it's about a bunch of cheerleaders. One of the cheerleaders gets pregnant, and they need money to help her because she's pregnant. And they all devise this plan to go rob a bank or a supermarket or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. And she was one of the cheerleaders in that, and she kind of took a militant role in it. So... like, seeing her in a military role after something like that, I mean, it's kind of opposite end of the spectrum, but I kind of saw it.
Yeah, but also speaks to it. Yeah, but doesn't it also speak to her range as an actress that she can be a goofy cheerleader in a failed heist movie, and then be a militant kind of soldier-like character in another movie.
Yeah, but you know what? That's also could be just called the mark of a good actress.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She's a versatile actress.
I think so. I mean, I'm just a very big fan of her. She's probably in my top 5 favorite actresses of all time.
That's a lot. See, I think the problem's more me than her. Like I've only seen her in those more wholesome, goody two-shoe type of roles. And
she was in 2 episodes of American Horror Story, dude.
I think I remember that.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, Matt, you were right. The movie was called Stuck. I think she was like a hospital worker or something like that, and she was driving home with her boyfriend or something like that, and somebody gets stuck in their windshield.
Yep, and
I really want to check that out. That sounds
it got a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's like I think it's like in the low 70s. I think it's like 71 or 72 or something like that.
And
that sounds entertaining.
Yeah, and I'm almost positive it was based on a true story, so...
Nice.
So
yeah, that I didn't look up. I just went a basic overview of the movie, and that's basically what it said: hospice worker, person stuck in windshield.
Yeah, it seems like you can't make that shit up. So
yeah, so
had to be true.
So basically, there was a remake back in 2008. It was a direct-to-video remake, and I remember when I first heard about it. Mina did get cast as Sarah, and Sarah is like my favorite female character in a horror movie ever, maybe aside from Angela Bettis portraying May in the movie May. I mean, that's the only one I can even think that comes fucking close. So, seeing like one of my favorite actresses playing like my favorite horror character was like a dream come true. And then I watched the movie.
Oh, I think you made me watch that too.
Well, we didn't watch it together because I remember I was sitting in my basement watching it, just sighing.
We watched it together, but not like in the beginning. Like I think you forced me to watch it at a later date.
I would not force anyone to watch that.
Yeah, It wasn't good. Let's just say that.
So now we're getting another remake, which seems to be a little bit closer to the original, but from what I've been reading, the character of Bub, who's now back in the movie, we didn't get Bub in the first remake. We got another character, I don't remember his name, but it was not Bub. I don't think it was...
probably for the best.
It was Bud. Bud. That's what it was.
Only one Bud as far as I'm concerned, and that's Bud the Chud.
Bud the Chud.
Never seen Chud 2?
Bud the
Look
Chud.
it up. Dude, I would pay like $20 for an MP3 of that song. I'm not kidding. So if you listen to this and you own the rights to that song, put it out, $20.
And you want to know what's fucking crazy? Is the dude who directed the first remake, he directed Friday the 13th Part 2.
Really?
Yeah. Among other movies, dude, it was Steve Miner.
That's shocking.
And, you know, and Steve Miner did not really direct a lot of good stuff. He directed Friday the 13th Part 2. He directed Friday the 13th Part 3. He directed the first House movie, which I thought was a great movie. He directed the first Warlock movie, again, which I think was a really good movie. He directed Halloween H2O and Lake Placid. Now, Lake Placid sucks. Alright, so we don't need to get into that one. And I didn't think Halloween H2O was all that good, but I love the idea behind it. So, I mean, he directed some good stuff.
Not to mention, the writer, Jeffrey Riddick, he wrote the screenplay for many of the Final Fantasy, holy shit, Final Destination movies, and Tamara. So he has a pretty good little, writing bank under him.
Yeah. So
like, it was a combination to succeed, but for some reason was a train wreck.
Yeah. So now we're getting this new remake. We're getting a character. We're getting Bub back, but Bub is apparently some sort of half zombie, half human hybrid that's somewhat like sane. I don't know. Basically, I've seen pictures. I've read part of the synopsis and story idea, and it's just fucking shoot me. Stop ruining my favorite movie, please. Just stop. Just leave it alone.
I could almost bet that they're going to be going overly heavy-handed with the political commentary and all that, as well as the zombie turning into a human sort of deal. You know, they're going to go way more heavy-handed than George did.
Yeah, fucking... And you know what? Then that shit's already been done, and it's been done perfectly. And if you guys have never seen it, check out a Japanese movie. It's basically a tribute movie to the original Dawn of the Dead. It's called Biozombie, and there's a character in it named Sushi Boy, and Sushi Boy becomes a zombie, but he fights off the zombie urge and becomes like the bub of the movie, but in a way more helpful manner. Biozombie. Check it out, guys. Great Japanese zombie movie.
I think that was one of the first zombie movies you've ever recommended to me, and I've never looked back from there. It was such a good movie.
Yeah, fantastic movie. Great characters, great acting, a lot of fun. Even a little sad part in the middle of it. So check it out, Biozombie. Don't check it out, Day of the Dead Remake 1, Day of the Dead Remake 2, which isn't even out yet, but just don't fucking do it.
Like if you're gonna take away anything from this long-winded, very weird rant, just go watch Biozombie instead.
Yeah.
Forget Day of the Dead remakes and just watch that instead.
Yeah.
Just buy the original Day of the Dead. I mean, seriously, they probably have one version out now with tons of content on it, and it'll make anybody who's really dead serious into that movie extremely happy.
Agreed. I think it's actually out on from Scream Factory, so you probably have a real loaded Blu-ray out right now.
Yeah, and I've been trying to get Dave, who runs Monster Mania, to do a Day of the Dead reunion for me, but to no avail. I'll stay on it though. I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah, after what happened with Joe Pilato when we were in earshot of him yelling at some fan, like justifiably, not even like irrationally. Ever since then, I've been wanting to meet him, so they need to bring him back.
That was a good convention. That was when we met David Hess too.
Yes, and Steele was there from Day of the Dead.
Well, that has to do with the whole Pilato berating.
Don't worry.
We'll get into it. Yeah, we'll get into it on that episode. But right now, just talking about this remake has just pissed me off, so we're just going to move on to the next topic.
Yes. Which is good news. Very good news, I think.
Yeah, depending on what side of the fence you're on here. So there is a lot of rumbling about Disney buying out Fox Movie Studio,
which is insane. Like, I never thought in my day that I'd wake up to that headline, and yeah, I mean, like, immediately all the possibilities came flowing to me, and I don't know. I'm really hoping it happens personally.
So, for anyone who doesn't know exactly what that would mean, it would mean that Disney, who owns obviously a lot of the Marvel characters right now in terms of films, and who actually makes all the MCU films, that means that they would get film rights back to all of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and everything that comes with the Fantastic Four, including Galactus, Silver Surfer, Anilius, and a ton of all of the named Super Skrull, any named Skrull, because right now Disney can use Skrulls, but they can't use any of the named Skrull characters. So they can't use like Super Skrull, whose name is like Klrt, it's like KLRT or something like that. They can't use that character.
They also can't use the Watchers, from what I understand. They used them in spoilers, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but they can't call them the Watchers by law. So
yes, just like how they used Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, but they just couldn't call them mutants.
Mm-hmm. And they couldn't make any association to being Magneto's kids.
Yes.
So
it's good.
I was gonna say, and on top of it, the extremely successful Deadpool, and I know he's factored into the whole X-Men universe, but thinking that Disney could possibly own Deadpool after that first movie is mind-boggling to me.
I'm sorry, if Disney does a Deadpool movie, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm sorry. I need all the ultra violence and the swearing and every other thing that went along with it.
I agree with you, but I think what's going to happen is they're just going to absorb the company into what they own. You know, it's still going to be released under Fox, and the producers and everything, but they're just going to be in control of the characters or have the rights to put the characters into their Marvel movies. So.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Disney is a business first and foremost. They are in the business of making money. Now, Deadpool made a shit ton of money, and that was without a fucking China release. All right. Now,
agreed.
Obviously, Deadpool, lots of cursing, nudity, violence, all that stuff. Now, Disney doesn't really do that. Now, they started pushing the envelope a little bit for beyond what they're used to with the Netflix series. Which were fantastic. Now, I think Disney would have seen that the first Deadpool movie, which had, I believe, a very modest budget,
extremely modest,
made so much money on a very modest budget that fans love this character. And despite it being rated R, I think it was the highest grossing rated R movie of all time without a China release, people. So I don't think Disney would be stupid enough to jeopardize a cash cow like that in a rated R market.
I agree, especially with the idea of being able to interject him into their current slate of films, and with them being on the brink of Phase 4, is it now? Of the new movies, they're going to be looking to inject different characters from different series, different universes into the world that they've molded in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and it's like and it would be a perfect opportunity to show, a lot of Disney haters that, you know what, if we want to be violent and crude and disgusting, we can be with this character. We're not going to change this character just because that's not our persona right now. So, and I think doing it that way would be perfect. Leave the character alone, let him continue doing what he's doing. But they could take it a really awesome step further. What I would love to see is, obviously, the Deadpool sequel, Cable, all that stuff being just as disgusting and violent and cursing and all just as Deadpool-y as he was in the first one. Now,
so basically about as adult as it can get without fucking and shit like that.
Which it's already on board to being.
Exactly.
Like, the sequel's already being produced under Fox's banner. At this point in time, Disney's just looking to buy what Fox has.
All right, so keep him that way. Now, again, this is just saying, let's say Disney does get the character. Keep it that way. Let him do what he does in his movies. Now, they could take that a step further and have an absolute blast that fans would die for. My vision of this is, imagine in a future Spider-Man movie or a future Avengers movie or any MCU movie, and all of a sudden Deadpool wanders into the movie for no fucking reason at all and starts interacting with whoever the main character is. Let's say he's trying to talk to Spider-Man, and Spider-Man says something that obviously Deadpool doesn't agree with, and Deadpool just wants to start laying into him and start cursing at him. Well, every time Deadpool tries to curse, it doesn't work. And then
they use like a sound effect or something like that, you know, like a car horn or a cow mooing or something along those lines.
Exactly, and he's self-aware of it. Like every time he tries to say fuck, some weird noise covers up fuck, and he just goes off. He's like, "What the f- is that? Like, what's going on?"
He's gonna completely break the fourth wall and get really pissed off at what the editor's doing to him.
Exactly, like.
Yeah, it's like those old Bugs Bunny cartoons where, where they're basically screwing around with Bugs or Daffy the entire episode. They're, painting them up to look weird and all sorts of shit like that.
Yeah, the ones where they're like doing the animation in the episode with like the giant pencil coming down.
I mean.
Yep.
That's exactly what I mean. It turns out the one is Elmer Fudd, who screws around with Bugs, then Bugs screws around with Daffy Duck. It's just too, that would just be too much. That would just be the height of just too muchery.
So that would just be a great opportunity for just an amazing, memorable, probably best 2, 3, 4 minute cameo a character has ever had in a movie. Like, fans would go absolutely apeshit over something like that.
And just think, it's like a 1 or 2 minute scenario that that's going to be on the front page of every geek site. Like, for the next week, people would, lose their shit over it completely.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not an insult to Deadpool fans because it's being Deadpool is still being Deadpool, and it's no one would expect Disney to do something like that. That's what I think would be my absolute perfect scenario if they got Deadpool. Just keep him that way, and then obviously you don't want his type of his type of style in the MCU mainstream movies. And that's fine. I get that. I mean, these are movies geared towards kids, so you can't really have that type of character in a movie that's marketed towards kids. You don't blame them, but you can throw something like that in, and even kids are gonna find it funny.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing, though. Okay, I mean, if you're doing another Deadpool movie, I think the first one was rated R. More than likely number 2 is going to be rated R too. Seriously, I don't want to hear 7, 8-year-old kids in the friggin' movie. Saying, "Oh, he just said a swear." No, I don't want to hear that shit. No.
Tom, you would be really surprised how many kids are already seeing the original Deadpool movie. But honestly, I think what Matt just said before, they're a business first and foremost, and I don't think they're going to flush down the toilet blueprint down the toilet of something that works already. You know, I don't think they're going to go in and say, well, Deadpool printed money the first time. Let's make him PG-13 because that'll make him print money more. You know, I don't think they're going to look at it that way. I think they're going to see what worked the first time and they're going to respect it. And that's if the company, you know, sells.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that, if that happens, forget about it. I'm out. If they screw up Deadpool 2, I don't care what Marvel Studios does. I don't care what Disney does. I don't care what Fox does. I'm out. I am gone. I am a ghost.
Well, the beautiful thing about Deadpool 2 is it's already wrapped, and it's due out next year in 2018, or is it 2018?
Yeah.
Or 19? Okay, 2018. So it's already in the can. So it's got the same creative team that was behind the first one. So I don't think we're gonna have to worry about part 2. And if the sale goes through, I really don't think we're going to have to worry about any future plans going forward. You know, the X-Force movie that Deadpool is going to be a part of, or ultimately Deadpool 3. You know, I think what they're going to do is they'll keep him under the Fox banner because it separates the whole Disney thing. You know, like sort of like what Weinstein Company with Dimension Films. The Weinstein Company thought horror movies were too classy to be released under the Weinsteins. So they made Dimension Films and they released all the horror stuff under there.
They put out all the trash under Dimension. They kept the high-class stuff under the Weinstein brand.
Exactly. So
I think he's so high class, right?
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean the company when they were doing the movies, not the individual person himself.
Agreed.
Honestly, I think the person's a piece of shit who's probably going to burn in hell for all fucking eternity. He damn well deserves it.
Absolutely agree, but I think this is some situation is going to be similar. We're going to see Fox or Disney separate themselves a little bit from Fox. They're going to use X-Men, they're going to use Fantastic Four and all the galactic heroes and stuff, and they're going to kind of like take the Deadpool / X-Force, and they're going to release it under the Fox banner without the worry of any sort of backlash from Disney fans and parents. So I don't think we have anything to worry about personally.
Yeah, and you want to know one other thing I was thinking of? Who is what's the name of Deadpool's friend from AIM? Was his name Bob?
Bob.
All right, so just imagine we can finally get a Deadpool movie with Bob in the AIM beekeeper outfit.
You know, we already got Bob.
Oh no, not AIM. I'm sorry, Hydra. He was a Hydra soldier.
Hydra. Mm-hmm. But we did get Bob in the last movie.
I know we got Bob in the last movie.
They couldn't call him Hydra Bob though.
Yes, I know, but that could happen now. We could actually get Hydra Bob.
I'm all for it.
So I mean that's a pretty cool little. You know, if you're a comic fan, that's something a comic person would definitely appreciate.
I just love the fact that like all these stories are going to be opened up. They're like Avengers versus the X-Men, or X-Men coming, like helping out the Guardians of the Galaxy on something, or vice versa. I like the fact that we're going to be able to possibly get stories that we would have never dreamed to see off of comic book pages into a film. So, knock on wood.
Yeah, I mean, if we get the X-Men, we could actually do a proper, Realm and War of Kings storyline, because the a lot of those characters were X-Men characters in those storylines. The Shi'ar, Gladiator was a major character in those storylines. So, and Realm and War of Kings were my two favorite story arcs in the Marvel Comics. So, even just the idea of getting those movies would be really, really cool.
Agreed.
But the only thing I care about about this possible acquisition is that Marvel will finally get back the Silver Surfer, who is my all-time favorite comic book character. So we could finally get a proper Silver Surfer and Galactus movie, which is what fans deserve.
I couldn't agree more.
Just a great character, and we've only seen him on screen once, and I'm not gonna lie, basically it was Doug Jones playing Silver Surfer, who was absolutely perfect. You couldn't have gotten a better actor to play him, and you had Lawrence Fishburne voicing him. Fuck! Wow, I blown away. It was the absolute perfect combination for a amazing character who got stuffed into a shit movie.
Yeah, on paper that looked tremendous, and I saw a little bit of it into the the credits or the previews and everything, and I was very excited for it, needless to say, and a little disappointed after seeing it.
Yeah, it's as I said, as a Silver Surfer fan, I was at least happy I got a really great Silver Surfer performance out of it. As I said,
he looked good. He looked really good, and the performances were awesome.
The only problem I had with it was the design of the board and the fact that his power came from the board. That obviously that's not source material. That was never the case in the comics. If he fell off his board or lost his board, all he had to say was, "To me, my board." And just like Mjolnir for Thor, fucking board would come back to him. He would not lose his power.
God, I wish that was in the Silver Surfer Nintendo game, because every time you fell off that fucking board, off you went and game over.
Oh God, I hated that fucking game.
That game was a nightmare.
all those old NES games based off of the Marvel comics. The X-Men game was about a million times worse than the Silver Surfer game could ever hope to be. Silver Surfer was extremely hard. X-Men was fucking impossible.
Yeah, it was. It was a hard game. But that was my one of my biggest complaints. And the overall design of the board was they gave him a really short board, which he's only ever had once or twice in the comics. And it just was never a good look. He's almost always had a long board, surfboard, and it just fit him so much better. So hopefully if we ever get another Silver Surfer movie, they give him his proper board. It's a little complaint, I guess, but for a Silver Surfer diehard fan, it means something.
I agree. Just like, what they did with Deadpool and Wolverine Origins, like everything they did in that fucking movie.
I don't think they really did anything right.
They hired Ryan Reynolds, but that's where it ended.
It's like all the old Fantastic Four movies. They've never done a good one. And, let's put it this. If they do a good one on, under this branding, it would be the first.
Well, yeah, I'm excited. I think that would be, I think Kevin Feige, I think that's how you say his name?
Yeah.
I think he has the potential to be able to pull Fantastic Four out of the mud where it is.
Well, the thing was with those two Fantastic Four movies, I don't think that the acting was the actors and actresses were cast wrong. I actually think they were cast very good. They just had shit scripts and shit stories to deal with.
Yeah, it came out during an era where they didn't take superhero movies seriously. They kind of jumped off of the Joel Schumacher train of the Batman movies and tried to make them this half slapstick type of garbage
hokey
movie. Very hokey, yeah. And you could tell the producers were like, okay, we're just going to put this in, and we're going to half-ass the script, half-ass the shoot, and hopefully these fucking nerds are going to come out in droves. But it wasn't until Kevin Feige where he respected or actually, let me go back before that. It wasn't till Sam Raimi where he treated the script properly with respect of the original character's origins, that we actually started to see comic movies improve. People start to take them seriously a little bit, and so it took certain studios a long time to come on board and realize, hey, this is the way we need to be making these comic book movies because they print money. And ultimately you're going to have to change with the times, and I think that's one of the problems that Fox never did with the Fantastic Four movies.
Yep.
Well, I mean, yeah, they also, and I noticed that you only said the two Fantastic Four movies. Yeah, everyone seems to forget about the train wreck that was the one that came out a couple of years ago, 2015, I think it was.
Oh yeah, we don't speak of that one.
I like certain aspects of it, but overall it was pretty crappy.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, because it just seemed like it just looked. I mean, everything about it was ugly. It looked ugly. It didn't feel. It just didn't feel right. It's just. It just wasn't. It wasn't the Fantastic Four. That I read in the comics when I was a kid and everything else. It was just
the original
wrong.
the original movies were definitely more along the lines of the Fantastic Four for the comics. But like I respected what Josh Trank did with the new one, because he was trying to make it like more of a body horror type of movie, trying to take the Fantastic Four characters and put a different weird spin to it. But the studio panicked last minute and tried to inject the traditional Fantastic Four values into it, and it was a goddamn mess.
Man, just leave the body horror stuff to Hellraiser. I mean, don't go into the body horror thing. Leave it to Hellraiser. Leave it to, like Videodrome. Just leave it there and let it die. Let it fester in its corner. Every now and again pop up something fresh. But, just leave it the hell alone.
Yeah, like with the if you've seen the trailer for the New Mutants that's coming out, they're trying to spin that in a horror way, which I think is pretty interesting, given like that initial, I guess that initial vibe that a person must go through when becoming a mutant and all that, as far as the story goes. But it seems like Josh Trank kind of did that and tried to do that with the Fantastic Four movie, and it fell flat on its face. But unfortunately, it is what it is.
Yeah, pretty much. So, who knows what the futures will hold for these characters in these movies. We don't know if this acquisition is going to go through, but if it does, hopefully it's all going to work out for the best, especially for the comic book fans. Also, just on a quick note, I do believe that if this does happen, that the original cuts of the Star Wars movies can finally be remastered and released. No more of that special edition bullshit. It's just, they're not good.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest holdup, the fact that Fox had the licensing for any DVD or home video release, and Disney couldn't. Why would Disney want to put all that money into remastering the originals, back to their original form, if Fox was going to get a cut? So if they own Fox, I think they're going to be able to finally give us fans what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from what I read, like this, the talks are ongoing but slow. So, I mean, this could happen many years from now, or, within the next year. But there is hope for us fans as far as the content goes that they have. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and right now I'm like really in Marvel mode. I mean, seeing Thor Ragnarok last week, which was absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, please go see it. Support Taika Waititi in all his films. He actually voices the character of Korg, who was an important character in the Planet Hulk movie storyline, rather. And he fucking steals the movie as Korg.
That's what I've heard. I still have to see it. I think I'm gonna go this weekend.
Yeah, don't ruin any more of it for me, man. I'm probably gonna go see it on Friday.
Right on, man.
Yeah, it's so good. And also next week. Next Friday, I think, we're fucking getting Punisher Netflix series, baby.
Oh, that's next Friday?
Yeah, dude, that's fucking the 17th already. There's something else coming out on the 17th. I'm not really sure. It's some movie. I don't know. I've heard about it.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, that thing.
That one.
Yeah, the one to avoid.
The one with the weird character that no one's ever heard of, Batman, something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that. I think we'll discuss that next week.
I
think we're gonna have to get involved in that a little bit later. I might be the one that that bites the bullet and goes to see it, so I could keep the conversation at least level.
Just give us a review, man. That's all we're gonna ask.
Yeah, man. Let me just say,
destroy it.
I fell asleep during Batman vs Superman, and I've never done that. I've never done that in my life in a movie, and I'm the type of person that looks at somebody who's just glancing at their phone during a movie, and I'll judge the fuck out of them. But I fell asleep in a big ass lazy boy mid Batman versus Superman, and I was excited to see the movie. So like that says something. But Justice League has a saving grace, and that might be, well, that is possibly Joss Whedon. So we shall see.
Yeah. So as I said, this stream is geared. Well, not geared towards, but it's also going to cover a lot of geek culture stuff. And I don't want to alienate any DC fans who happen to be watching and listening. So I will go see it. I will probably wait until somebody wants to go see it with me, and I can get half-price tickets on Tuesday.
Cough, cough.
So, but I will see it just so I can give a true opinion on the movie. Now, personally, I don't think it looks good. I'm not a DC fan, but I have seen all the other DC movies. They're not good. Wonder Woman was okay.
I liked Wonder Woman a lot, actually.
But I do think that a lot of Wonder Woman's praise kind of came from the environment and world we live in now. I will get more into that. We'll do more of a DC discussion next week because we wanna just cover one more thing, and we're already running long. But fucking, I saw that coming.
Yeah, we started late too.
So we'll dive into more of the DC stuff next week, and I'm gonna try and stay as unbiased as possible as a Marvel fan and not a DC fan, just for the sake of good discussions. So
I think we might dive in DC a week later because I'm aiming for a Stranger Things episode. Just a review of a recap of the first season, a review of the second season, and all the fun stuff that's happening surrounding the release of the second. Yeah. So keep an eye on that. But we do have one more topic to talk about and somebody to introduce.
Yes. Let me just make sure I didn't mute his dumbass. Someone had to go eat dinner.
As always, we're very prepared on Way of Life Live.
Yeah. Like, we get it. You have food, you eat.
Yeah, how dare you, man? Come on.
Alright. Yeah, well, you're unmuted now, so everyone, the fourth person we were waiting for earlier, who apparently probably had an 8-course meal because it took him so long to get here.
He is Italian, so probably.
Hey, watch it there.
Hey.
So, everyone, we'd like to introduce the fourth founding member and partner of the Way of Life Network. That would be the Leather Rebel himself, Anthony.
Hello, how you doing?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm alright. I just finished season 1 of Stranger Things, and it was pretty fucking awesome.
Right on, man. We're gonna have to postpone that review just to get you on board for season 2.
Yeah, I might have to binge watch that at some point in my life when I have time.
Yes, please do. I have 3 more episodes to go, and it's been tremendous so far.
Good to hear, no doubt.
So, alright, so we're going to get into the final topic before we wrap up tonight, and it's actually kind of a callback to a topic we talked about last week, and that is the Devil's Rejects sequel that is apparently happening. Rob Zombie said it is happening. Whether or not he has a script written is beyond me. Whether or not he has an idea for the story is beyond me, but I would assume he does. Now, basically what we're going to discuss is what could the sequel possibly be? How could it work? And there are definitely, there are definitely many paths a sequel could take. And I have my ideas, and I'm sure everybody else has theirs. So, Ray, why don't you go ahead and give us what you think could possibly go down?
Well, for one, we have to put a spoiler tag on this. If you haven't seen this movie that came out 30 years ago or whatever, the ending of the movie, spoilers by the way, ends with the entire Firefly family going down in a hail of bullets, and as they drive towards the cops that have them blocked off, to the awesome theme of Freebird. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. So, they're dead. There's no way to put it. They're deader than dead. and there's no coming back. So how do you make a sequel to something like that? Do you take these, actors who are 10 years older and put them into a prequel, or do you try to come up with an interesting way to do it? And as far as I'm concerned, I think what they should be doing is, being that the Firefly family was wronged by this renegade police officer all throughout, I think they should come back from the dead in some capacity. Something along the lines of like a repeater spirit that's coming back, coming back to seek revenge and like go after their enemies. And at that point,
you mean like a Revenant or something like that?
Right, exactly. And you don't have to worry about like how much they aged in the last 10 years, because I mean, like, you look at Sid. Sid was old back when he made the Devil's Rejects, and he's 10 or so years older now. With them coming back as a ghost or something like that, you don't have to necessarily worry about it as much, and you have a little more freedom to take these guys and recreate their characters in the way that they did from House of Thousand Corpses to Devil's Rejects. So we might see Captain Spaulding that's a little more rotten, the clown makeup mixed with like some zombie-like features or something along those lines. I think that would be a really good way to do it, especially if, say, they input a story along the lines of, like maybe Sheriff Wydell had a son and he's going back, and they're pulling off like a kind of a Nightmare on Elm Street sort of vibe where they goes back and gets revenge on the family that did them wrong. I think that'd be interesting to see, personally.
I had kind of had a similar idea. I had two ideas on how they could tackle this particular sequel. My one idea sort of follows yours, but I wouldn't make them ghosts or repeaters per se. You got to remember, this is a universe, all right? These are two movies, a universe where the character of Dr. Satan exists.
I actually had a similar idea too when I was talking to my brother, but forgot about that.
Utilize the character of Dr. Satan. Utilize whatever his medical experiments do, and bring these characters back that way.
I like it, and if I remember correctly, I don't know if like they really show Dr. Satan like flat out dead in the first movie.
No. He actually has a cutout scene in Devil's Rejects where he's like in a hospital bed himself. And,
that's right.
And I think he kills. Is Rosario Dawson in that scene?
I think so, to be honest.
So yeah, you have a character like that you could utilize as a means to bring back the Firefly clan. Now, my original idea was, and this is kind of a really lame cliche idea with a bit of a twist on it. Obviously, if you've seen the end of the movie, Otis, Baby, and Spaulding are in the convertible, and they're looking at this giant police barricade, and they're all fucked up. They had been tortured by Wydell before they were rescued by Tiny. Otis had fucking nails driven into his hands and staples, and they were all bleeding, bloody, and fucked up. And they get to this police barricade, and they kind of all just decide to just go down in a glorious hail of gunfire. They're all firing their guns as they're driving to this barricade. Now, again, as Freebird is playing, great scene, one of the best scenes ever in a movie.
Agreed.
So, why don't we go back to that scene for the start of the sequel, and instead of them driving forward, why not do a sort of what if? Maybe they envisioned themselves driving forward and dying that way, but maybe that didn't really happen. So instead of doing that, they do a what if movie, and they turn around and go a completely different path. And then at the end of the movie, just kind of revisit and just be like, yeah, the bulk of the movie was a what if scenario, but don't worry, they really did drive into their own death. You know, it's kind of like the ending was a dream, but it really wasn't a dream. Cliche, but kind of twisty.
I think the fact that it shows an alternate path for the clan to have taken doesn't make it as cliche. Like, it would have been a little more if it's like, oh well, this is what they ended up doing and whatnot. But I like that it gives both scenarios: the one that you're so in love with from the Devil's Rejects itself, and the path that could have been taken, and like what kind of carnage could have ensued after the fact if they had gone that way.
Yeah, you're not taking away from anything from the original. You're not changing the original. You're just exploring a different path while keeping the original intact at the end. You're telling one more story with characters that fans absolutely love. And I think that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. What if scenarios are very common in comics. Marvel does what if comics all the time. And they're usually...
they have a whole line of what if comics at one point. I think they did like 75 or something like that. They did a lot of them. Yep. And a lot of them were really, really good.
Exactly. It's just a way to explore these characters in one more story.
Yeah, in a what if scenario.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tweak, if anything else, because at the end, they're going, what happens at the end, Now, if like you just said, they decided to take a different path. They decided to do something else instead of just run in and get massacred.
Agreed, and this is something that you don't often see in movies. Like they don't take a what-if scenario and make an entire film about it because they're worried of where the story is going to go or the sequelizing of the story. They don't very often do that, so it'd be interesting to see if Zombie does something like that here.
I have a theory about this sequel. You guys
go on.
So my theory is that the Firefly family has a cult following, and they all decide that they will don the skin masks of the deceased members of the Firefly family, reenacting their murders and other deeds. And perhaps maybe we get to see, say, Captain Spaulding have a cameo and say, "I ain't fucking dead yet."
Nice. I kind of like that idea, especially if they do die from the originals. Like they kind of spin it in a way where, cult fans kind of picked up their legacy, after becoming some sort of obsessed with them.
Sure, and the real kick in the ass would be after he does that, he fucking kills off the goddamn clan of cult followers. And...
Agreed. You kind of take the whole Dr. Satan idea and like the original clan comes back after them, for fucking with their legacy.
Yeah, exactly. Don't fuck with our legacy, boy.
Oh, I'd pay to see that, I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a couple different paths they can go down where they don't really piss off fans.
Either way, I'm just glad that the series is, getting some sort of life, breathed into it, because it should have happened sooner. But good lord, was that movie amazing! It's on my top 5 easily.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Ray, it was 2005. The Devil's Rejects was 2005.
Yeah, so over 10 years now.
So it's been, it's going to be at least 13, 14 years before the sequel comes out. I mean, that's after they shoot everything, get everything written down, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily. We're at least 2-3 years before that film sees a theatrical release.
Yeah.
One thing notable about the original Devil's Rejects was the fact that it had such a great soundtrack, and we're over 10 years after the release of that movie, and there's been so many bands that have come out since that time. Notably, a really big movement from Sweden where these bands are kind of picking up in the old style genres of the 70s and early 80s. So if Zombie kind of looks to that and throws in that influence, I think we're also going to have another great soundtrack on our hands.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. That soundtrack has gotten so much rotation in my stereo, iPod, wherever I could play it, I play it, even to this day. And here we are, a good 12 years after the fact. So yeah, it's amazing, an amazing score and soundtrack.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, I think why Zombie finally decided to revisit these characters is because, well, his last few movies have not been overly well received, especially his last one called 31. If you haven't seen it, you're not missing anything. You could watch the first 10 minutes of the movie, which are very, very good. Not even the first 10 minutes. It's the very first scene of the movie, and it's one of the best scenes he's ever directed. And then I don't know what the fuck happened after that, because the rest of the movie is just dog shit.
Yeah, I still have to see it. After a lot of the negative reviews for it, I kind of put it on the back burner. But I was the big fan of Lords of Salem that he made.
Yeah, that was like the last movie I heard he made that I actually, saw like anything for, and in like a theater or anything like that.
Yeah, it was that's a decent movie, but definitely not as good as some of his previous movies.
I agree, but I think the Firefly Clan's always going to be his baby. I don't think he's going back to the well because he's out of ideas. I just think that, like anybody with a hit like that, is going to have in the back of my mind, I wonder what those characters are up to. And we've seen many filmmakers, like backtrack and say, oh, let's see what these guys are up to, and sort of create a new story, at least in the back of their mind. In this particular case, he's going to try to bring them back to life on the big screen, which is awesome.
Yep. So those are our ideas for possibly, what we could expect from this sequel, but we won't know until we hear more. We probably won't get any real news on this sequel for another year or two. Not a year, I would say. Probably a couple months. I would say at least 6 months before we get any real news on it. So that is probably going to do it for us. We've definitely run long again, but I was expecting that. Shit happens when you party.
When you bring new characters into the fold, you have more opinions, so of course things are going to run a little longer than you might expect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress. We're refining it as we go along.
Yeah, pretty much. So we are going to go ahead and wrap up. I will let you start, Ray, because I think you had something you wanted to get into real quick.
Oh yeah. Do you have it? Do you have the song or whatever?
I have it. Yeah, okay. I can bring it up.
All right, so I just wanted to give a quick shout out before I go to a band that I'm a big fan of. They used to go by the name Dog Fashion Disco, and that band is still currently active. The singer and the guitarist Todd Smith and Jason Stapp, I think, or I forget. But in any case, they have different side bands that they do, and their band Polka Dot Cadaver is releasing a CD next week. It's currently available for pre-order on razor-to-wrist.com, and the album's called Get Possessed. And I think right now we're going to play the title track off the album.
It's playing in the background right now,
as you could hear. So if you like what you hear, I'm going to shut up in a second. And if you like what you hear, go to razor-to-wrist.com and give it a shot.
Yeah, awesome band. Check them out.
Yeah, definitely. They're not a band I've ever gotten into, but Ray and LR really dig them. They go down and see them quite often.
Yeah, from ghettos known as Baltimore.
Like I said, man, burnt out Bronx in the 70s.
All right, you dudes. Well, thanks for your time. I'm bailing out, so thanks to everyone, and I'm out.
All right. Later, LR. Thanks for joining us.
You can follow Leather Rebel at UFW or UF Webzine on Twitter.
So as the song continues to play, I'm just going to give one or two shout outs out. Obviously, again, like last week, go check out my buddy Mad Eye. Go check out his YouTube channel. He's slowed down.
We're gonna bring him in on, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping he's working on some stuff right now. But we're hoping to bring him in for a guest appearance on an episode soon. So But definitely check out his YouTube page, Mad Eye Yokai. I also want to give a shout out to a couple of horror bloggers and writers that Ray and I follow, and that occasionally will retweet our stuff out for their much broader audience. One of our favorites, John Squires. You can just search for John Squires on Twitter. I'll probably add some links to them in the description of the video. But he used to write the Freddy in Space blog, but now he writes for Bloody Disgusting. He's a really great guy. He writes a lot of great articles, has a lot of fantastic insight into horror. So definitely check him out.
You can follow him at Freddy in Space. And pretty much if you're a horror fan and you don't know who Freddy in Space is at this point, you're missing out. He creates by far some of the most unique articles and editorials, and like he's just a genuine dude when it comes to, you know, being knee deep in the scenes. So definitely follow him without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely. He's a real good dude, and hopefully we'll be meeting him soon at the next Monster Mania if his broke ass gets out there.
Yeah, seriously, we got to bring him on as a guest.
Another guy, a buddy of mine, Jonathan Barkin. He used to write for Bloody Disgusting. Now he writes for Dread Central. Another really good guy, real fun to talk to. You can find him on Twitter at Jonathan Barkin. It's Barkin with an AN, but I always call him Barkin with an IN because he hates it, and I'm just a dick like that. But again, he's another really good horror blogger. Writes a lot of great articles for Dread Central. Definitely check him out. I'm also going to plug another buddy of mine, Horror Movie Barbecue. You can find him at Twitter at Horror Movie BBQ. Again, another blogger, horror writer, good guy. Just found out that he got his room for Monster Mania.
Really?
Yes. So hopefully we'll be meeting up with him and grabbing a drink. Maybe we'll do like a hotel room recording for some type of future content for the channel.
Yeah, get a bunch of alcohol in our system and us in a hotel room. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I can't promise anything. I haven't asked him about it, but I don't think he would be opposed to it. Same thing with John. I think if John ends up going, we could all get together and do some really awesome recordings.
Couldn't agree more. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's probably about it for my shoutouts this week, right?
Yeah, I think I'm good. I didn't have a lot to shout out this week, and you know, I'm just really psyched for that one album. So again, if you dug the song, check it out, razortorest.com. The album's called Get Possessed. The band is Polka Dot Cadaver. You know, check them out.
All right, so I think that about wraps us up. I want to thank LR for joining us earlier for his brief insight. And
he had a good idea. I really like that. But unfortunately, he's under the weather tonight, so he couldn't really stick around.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if his mic was really low, but that was on his end, not my end. He is jacked up as much as humanly possible on my end. So, the sick leather rebel is going to have to up his voice game for the next recording we do.
We're still a work in progress, you know, like the episode title's called. We made it this far, so give us a few weeks to get all the tweaks ironed out, and I think we'll be okay.
Yep, and also want to thank Tom for joining us as well. Now, just to let you know, this stream, we don't really dive too much into music, and that is Tom and LR's specialty. When it comes to metal, they know way more than Ray and I about the subject, and that's where those two are truly going to shine. And some of our a lot of our pre-recorded content that will be up on the channel soon is going to be geared towards metal and beer, and that's where these two guys shine. So you'll definitely be hearing a lot more of them, and you'll be impressed on some of their insight and knowledge into that stuff.
Seriously, like how me and Matt over here could ramble about Day of the Dead and all the zombie movies from the 60s on.
Yeah, it's basically how I can ramble on about like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and all the good old hard rock, heavy metal kind of stuff that, I mean, and thank God some of these bands are still out there. I mean, Judas Priest, for example, is putting a new one out next year called Firepower at some point. But, I don't have any definitive dates or anything like that, so I can't really consider it a shout-out. I'd shout it out, maybe about a week or two before the album comes out, but I can't legitimately say, hey, it's November, it's before Thanksgiving. When the new Priest comes out, go get it. I can't do that.
Well, to be fair, Halford deserves a shout-out no matter what, because he's the man.
Well, I mean, of course, but I mean, still, it's just one of those things that, it's in the hopper. There, it wasn't even... up until maybe a couple of months ago, it was like a rumor. It was like, well, are they or aren't they? So now that they are, and now that they've announced concert dates, and I already got tickets for me and Anthony to go to the concert on March 20th in Newark, New Jersey.
Prudential, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good old dental center. Yeah.
I might have to join you guys on that one. Never seen Priest live and always wanted to.
Dude, you were in for a treat, man. I'm going to tell you that right now. Anyone else who hasn't seen Judas Priest, I tell you something. Go out and do it now. This might be your last chance. They're getting a little up there in age. So, if it's one of those things that's on your bucket list, I would say do it now. This is the opportunity on this tour in 2018.
Yeah, agreed. I've seen Priest, 24 times. I mean, I've even seen Rob Halford do a full set with Black Sabbath because Ozzy was sick. So, I've seen some great Priest shows, and they do not fail to deliver an amazing show. I mean, fucking Halford still rolls out on stage on his Harley. So, definitely,
exactly.
I'll endorse that.
Like I said, man, if you've never seen Priest and you want to go see Priest, this might be the last one. So, time to move.
Yep. So, all right, guys, we are done for tonight. I'm thinking just because of how much we're able to fit in, and we didn't even have half as many topics this week as last week, I'm thinking we'll be able to keep up a real good repertoire and schedule for a weekly live stream like this moving forward. I won't guarantee it, but I'm saying it's looking likely. Again, I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope my co-host over here also enjoyed it as well. I had a lot of fun.
I look forward to it.
Same here, man. Same here.
So yeah, so there you go. So I will probably start scheduling streams for 8 o'clock every Wednesday. So keep an eye on that. Obviously, follow us on Twitter. We always post updates there. And yeah, that is definitely going to wrap it up for us tonight. So I want to thank everybody who watched. I want to thank anyone who watched on the recording, and anyone who is listening to this on our podcast. I believe Ray is. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, as you can see on the stream, I'm working on getting this podcast stripped off of the video and added to iTunes. So keep a lookout for that. Like Matt said, you could follow us on Twitter at WayOfLifeNet, and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/WayOfLifeNet. Pretty simple. You can look in the description below. And as always, you could obviously subscribe to us or don't, like whatever you want to do.
Yep. So again, thank you everybody for the support. We will see you next week. And, remember.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.